welcome to this video where we're going to look at consumer credit scenarios. So let's start with a situation where you borrow $1,200 at the annual interest rate of 12% or also 1% per month. So at the end of the first month, you would owe interest in the amount of $12. If you paid only that $12 in interest, you would still owe the $1,200. So that means that the total amount of the loan, which we know is called the principal, would still be $1,200, right? And you would owe that same $12 in interest. It would be a vicious cycle over and over and over again. And in fact, you would never be able to pay off that loan. So if you hope to make any progress in paying off the loan, you need to pay back part of the principal as well as the interest. So just a quick little review, some loan basics here, and some terminology. If we talk about the principal, we're talking about the amount of money owed at any particular time. Okay. Interest is charged on the principal. To pay off the loan, you must gradually pay off the principal. And another important term is called the loan term, which is the amount of time you have to pay back the loan in full. Here's an example here of when we make payments towards the principal, how we can lower the amount owed in the loan. So if we start out with $1,200 as our prior principal, and we keep paying $200 towards that principal, 1,200 minus 200 gives us 1,000, 1,000 minus 200 gives us 800, and so on. Eventually we can work our way down to $0 by paying off that loan. Sometimes you can take out loans and pay them in installments. So an installment loan or an amortized loan is just a loan that you pay off with equal regular payments. You can think of a mortgage as a type of installment loan. Okay, there is a formula that we can use to calculate loan payments, and it's PMT equals the principal times the APR divided by N divided by 1 minus 1 plus the APR over N, and that whole thing to the negative ny power. So negative ny. Okay, and PMT just stands for regular payment. APR is your annual percentage rate. Again, you would want to put that as a decimal. Okay, N is the number of payments per year. And then Y is the loan term in years. Okay, the following two features apply to all installment loans. So the interest due each month gradually decreases, which if you look at the table on the previous page, you can see how the interest decreases over time, right? We start out with $12 and after 6 months it reduces down to $2. And then the other feature is that the amount paid towards the principal each month gradually increases. And we can see that in the table as well, because not only are you paying the 200, you're also paying the $12 in interest, right? And that leads you eventually to be able to reduce your loan amount to nothing. Okay, let's look at an example. So let's say that when you graduate from college, you have student loans totaling $30,000 at an APR, so an annual percentage rate of 9%, which you're paying off over 10 years with monthly payments. We want to know what is our monthly payment. So we're going to use our payment formula. PMT equals, okay, I've got my principal, which is 30,000, times my APR, which is 9%, so that's 0.09 over N, and here N is 12, okay, because it's monthly, and then that's going to be all over 1 minus 1 plus 0.09 over 12 to the negative, N is 12, Y is 10, right, 10 years. So now simplifying that, we've got 30,000 and 0.09 divided by 12 is 0.0075 all over 1 minus, again, you've got 0.0075 and negative 12 times 10 is negative 120. Okay, breaking that down again, if I multiply the top part, I get 225. And in the denominator, I'm left with 1 minus, so when I take care of this part first, order of operations, I get 0.407937305. And then I'm going to subtract 1 minus that and divide 225 by that number, and you should get $380.03. Feel free to also, if you would like, to use a calculator. There's a really good one. It's called calculator.net. And there's loan calculators. So underneath financial calculator, you can click on loan calculator and you can calculate loans that way. You can also just type things in here. So this calculator makes it easy to type certain things in, you know, like the numerator, I would put parentheses around that. So 30,000 and then times, and then I have parentheses again, 0.09. Let's see, I want to just go back, 0.09 divided by 12. Okay, and then equals, so I know that that top part's going to give me 225, right? And then I can clear that and then take care of the bottom part. So I would do like parentheses, 1 minus, and then I've got parentheses again, 1, this time plus, and then anytime you have a fraction, again, put it in parentheses, parentheses 0.09 divided by 12. Okay, close your parentheses there, and then it's to a power. So you're gonna hit the X to the Y button, okay? And then my power is, you can either type in negative 12 times 10, or you can just do, 120 and it's negative. So you're gonna hit the plus minus button, and then that should give you the answer there. So the bottom number is really small. It's negative 9.832, and then it's times 10 to the 254. So close your parentheses. Okay, so the bottom part might be easier to do on a scientific calculator, but this is an option for you, okay? All right. Here we have how many total payments will you make and how much will you pay over the lifetime of the loan. Okay, so here we know that we have 120 months, right? 10 times 20, so monthly, 12 over 10 years. So we've got 120 months. And we know that we're making a monthly payment of $380.03. So that's per month. And the months will cancel. And if I multiply straight across, I get $45,603.60. So that's how much money you'll actually be paying back over the course of that loan, even though the loan was for $30,000. So now what is the total interest you'll pay on the loan? And then what percentage of your total payments do the interest payments represent over the life of the loan? Let's figure out first of all what the total interest would be. So to figure out total interest, which we looked at in the simple interest and compound interest sections, we're just going to take the total amount of what you're going to be paying, and we're going to subtract the amount of the loan, and it comes out to about $15,604, okay, approximately. So we'll use the approximate symbol. So that's approximately how much interest we'll be paying back. Okay, now we also have to figure out what percentage of the total payments do the interest payments represent. So the interest payments represent about $15,604 out of the total pay, which would be $45,604. So now I just need to divide. So again, feel free to use that calculator.net. I'm just going to click AC to clear it. And here I have 15 and then 604, and then divided by 45, 604. So it comes out to like 0.342. So it's about 34%. Okay, so that means that basically a third of your total payment will be for interest, even though your interest rate was 9%. Okay, let's look at another example. So for the loan in example 1, we want to calculate the portions of your payments that go to the principal and interest during the first 3 months, and about what percentage of your payments are for interest during these early months. Okay, so how do we figure this out? First, we want to look at like our monthly interest rate. And to do that, we're just going to take the APR, right, which was 9%, and divide that by 12. So we know 9% is 0.09, and then divided by 12, it comes out to like 0.0075. Okay, so what would be the interest due at the end of the first month? So I'm just going to take the 0.0075 and multiply it by, if you remember, the loan was $30,000. Okay, so that comes out to $225. Okay, so what portion of the monthly payment goes to the principal and the interest? So we're going to take now the $380.03, which remember that was our monthly payment, and we're going to subtract the $225, and we get $155.03. So that's what goes towards the principal. And you would continue on here to figure out what the amount towards the principal would be for each of those. So then you would take the $155.03, and you would you would get for month 2, you would get $156.19. So month 2 is $156.19 that will go towards the principal. And then for month 3, it's going to be $157.36 that goes towards the principal. Okay, and there's a table in section 4.8 in the text that you can look at if you are interested in figuring out those calculations. So the last question said about what percentage of your payments are for interest during these early months. So as we did in the last problem, so percent of payments for interest, we're going to take the amount of interest, which is about $155, and then divide that by the monthly payment, which is about $380. So it's about 41% of our payment goes towards the principal. Okay, so this should be principal. So we can figure out which percentage goes towards interest by taking 100% minus 41%. So about 59% goes towards the interest. Okay, I'm going to let you all try the check your understandings on your own. We're going to go to the example number 3. So here you need a $6,000 loan to buy a used car. Your bank offers a 3-year loan at 8%, a 4-year loan at 9%, and a 5-year loan at 10%. We want to calculate the monthly payments and total interest over the loan term with each of those options. Okay, so I'll start you off here. So let's start with the 3-year loan. So we know y is time, right? Y would equal 3. And the APR is 8%, which we know is 0.08. Okay, we're going to do that along with the 4-year loan, which is 9%, so 0.09. And then the 5-year loan, where it's 10%. And we're just going to plug it into our formula. So remember the formula was PMT equals, so here my principal is 6,000, and it's going to be times 0.08, again over 12, okay, because we're looking at monthly. And then we're going to divide that by 1 minus 1 plus 0.08 over 12 to the negative 12 times 3. And when you calculate that, you should get $188.02. Okay, and that's per month. The loan term is for 3 years. So that's 3 times 12. That's 36 months. And then that's going to equal $6,768.72. So that represents the total payments. Okay, so we found the monthly payment, but now the $188.02. But the total payments I need to figure out then the total interest over the loan term. So again, how would I figure that out? I'm just going to take the $6,768.72 and subtract the principal, and then that leaves me with $768.72. Okay, so that's total interest. You would do the same thing for y equals 4 and y equals 5. For y equals 4, you're just going to change this to 0.09, right? And then the y would turn into 4. And for y equals 5, of course, the y would turn into 5, and then the rate would be 0.1. Okay, let's next talk about credit cards, which are a type of open-end installment loan, right? So they require users to make minimum monthly payments, and that depends on an unpaid balance and an interest rate, right? You might hear the terms revolving credit, which is a type of credit that allows you to borrow money and pay it back over time while retaining access to the line of credit. So for instance, your credit card, maybe you have a revolving credit of like $10,000. And let's say that, your balance right now on your credit card is $4,000. So you can still access that extra $6,000 while you're making the minimum monthly payments and interest. You may see the term itemized billing. So that's a statement that includes the unpaid balance on the first day of the billing period. The total balance owed on the last day a list of purchases also any finance charges or fees incurred, and the date of the last day of the billing period, payment due date, and minimum payment required. Because remember, you're not required to pay off your credit card immediately, right? Okay. We're going to look at a method called the average daily balance method. This is a method used for calculating interest on most credit cards. And the way we do that is we take the sum of the unpaid balances for each day in the billing period, and we divide that by the number of days in the billing period. Okay, let's take a look at how we would do that. So the issuer of a particular Visa card calculates interest using the average daily balance method. The monthly interest rate is 1.3% of the average daily balance. The following transactions occurred during the May 1st to May 31st billing period. So here you can see the different transactions. This is the previous balance on the card. May 1st is the billing date. On May 8th, there was a payment of $250, so there's a credit towards that. But then there's all these charges for airline tickets, books, a restaurant, and then it's the end of the billing period. And then the payment due date is June 9th. Okay, so right now I know that my unpaid balance is this $13.50. And the number of days at each unpaid balance. So here my billing date starts on May 1st, plus 7 more days takes me to my payment. So there are 7 days at the first unpaid balance. So what I'm going to do is we're trying to find the average daily balance. I'm going to take my unpaid balance and multiply it by the number of days. So my unpaid balance is $13.50 times 7 days. So that comes out to $9,450. Okay. Now on May 8th, I was given a $250 credit because that's what I paid, right? So I'm going to take the $13.50 and subtract the $250. So now my unpaid balance is $1,100. Okay. From May 8th to May 10th, that's 2 days. And I'm going to take the unpaid balance, which is the $1,100, multiply it by 2, and I get $2,200. Okay, now I still have an unpaid balance on May 10th of $1,100, but I just purchased airline tickets, so I'm going to add $375 onto that. And now my balance is $1,475. And from May 10th to May 20th, that's 10 days. So we're going to take $1,475 times 10, and that's going to give us $14,750. Okay, my new unpaid balance is $1,475, but we just paid for books, which are $57.50. So I'm going to add $57.50, and now my new unpaid balance is $1,532.50. From May 20th to May 28th, it's 8 days. So I'm going to take $1,532.50 and multiply that by 8, and now we end up with $12,260. And now I'm going to take my unpaid balance and add on the restaurant bill, $65.30. And it comes out to $1,597.80. Okay, and then from May 28th to June 1st, that's 4 days. So we're going to do 1597.80 times 4, which is 6391.20. Okay, I'm going to total that up, and that gives me $45,051.20, and that is your sum of your unpaid balances for each day in the billing period. Okay, so to find the average daily balance, which I didn't leave a lot of room for that, so I'm gonna put this for part A still. The average daily balance is the sum, which is $45,051.20, and then divide by the number of days in the billing period, which is 31. And you come out with $1,453.20. So that's your average daily balance. Okay, now I want to take that and I want to use that to find part B, which says find the interest to be paid on June 1st, the next billing date. So what they do is they take the simple interest formula, remember that's principal times rate times time, and you're going to multiply the 1453.26 times the rate, which is 1.3%, so that's 0.013, and then times 1. Okay, and by the way, time here is measured in months when you're calculating this. And we get something close to $18.89. So that's the interest for the June 1st billing cycle. So to find the balance due on June 1st, you're going to take your principal, which is the unpaid balance on May 31st. That was the $1,597.80. Plus the interest that we just calculated. So that's this plus this, which equals $1,616.69. Okay. Now this credit card requires a $10 minimum monthly payment if the balance due at the end of the billing period is less than $360. Otherwise, the minimum monthly payment is 1/36 of the balance due at the end of the billing period, rounded up to the nearest whole dollar. What is the minimum monthly payment due by June 9th? Well, my balance due is more than $360. So therefore, I have to take the balance due and take 1/36 of it, right? So that's just taking this number and dividing it by 36. So that comes out to close to $45. Okay, so that's the minimum monthly payment due by June 9th. So for those of you with credit cards, that is one way they calculate what your minimum monthly payment would be. Now, certainly there's advantages and disadvantages of having a credit card, right? So an advantage would be you get to use the product before actually paying for it, right? So, you can purchase with your credit card and it's not like you really paid for it yet. No interest charges by paying the balance due at the end of each billing cycle. And you don't need to carry around large amounts of cash, which is a plus, right? Some disadvantages, though, you can have high interest rates on unpaid balances. Sometimes there's no cap on the interest rates. There's no cap on the fees. It's very easy to overspend, and it can, serve as a financial tool for trouble, right? So you have to weigh the pros and cons of credit cards. Let's talk about credit reports and credit scores, which are something that kind of follow you along for life. So a credit report contains some of the following information. It contains any identifying information. So that means like your name, your social security number, current or previous address. The report also contains a record of your credit accounts, which are details of all the open and closed credit accounts, right? There's public record information contained there. So if, you ever declared bankruptcy, things like that. Collection agency account information. If you owe money that you haven't paid, and a collection agency is trying to get that money from you, they may look at your credit report. And they also may make certain inquiries along with anytime you may take out a loan. They're going to make inquiries on your credit report. They want to look to see if you're credit worthy, if you're willing to pay back the loan. Otherwise, they don't want to lend you the money. So certain inquiries they could make, companies that have been asked for your credit info because you applied for credit, things like that. You'll also see your credit score, also known as your FICO score. It's used to measure your credit worthiness. And as you can see here, it ranges from 300 to 850. And the higher the score, the better your credit is. Okay. Credit scores are calculated using the following factors. So they look at your payment history. As you can see, that makes up around, at this time, 35% approximately of your credit score. So one thing you want to remember is make payments by the due dates. If you have late and missing payments show up on your credit report, that's going to ding your credit report. Another thing they look at is account balances. So that makes up about 30% of your FICO score. Keep any credit card balances below the credit limit on the cards. Just because that's your balance doesn't mean you have to reach that balance, right? Or the limit rather. Just because you have a certain limit, if you have a limit of $10,000, it doesn't mean you have to spend that much. Higher balances might lower your score, in fact. They look at length of your credit history. That's about 15% of your FICO score. So the longer you have had credit, the higher your score will be. They might look at your credit max. That's about 10% of your score. For a higher score, you should have a mix of types of credit, such as not just credit cards, but maybe car loans and mortgages. It looks like you can handle all types of different loans. And also new credit, which is 10%. So opening new multiple accounts in a short period of time is viewed as risky. If you open up a bunch of credit cards, within a short period of time, that may not look good to the lender, right? And it may lower your score. So that's a brief overview of credit cards and your credit report and credit scores. Certainly you're welcome to look up more information in the textbook to learn more about it, to also look online. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me.